to CoinDesk Live. We are broadcasting from the Avalanche Summit. And if you've just joined us, we are in sunny Buenos Aires. We are celebrating the unveiling of Avalanche 9000. Zach and I are going to do some research later tonight and find out what that 9000 is all about. But for now, we know it's called Avalanche 9000. Today, we're talking with builders, founders, market experts, and investors to highlight the stories that are driving Web3's evolution. Joining us now is Web3 investor and advisor, Bettina Warburg. Hello.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for joining us in this sunny, vibrant setup. It's so
amazing.
Nice to get out of that studio, yeah. What kind of conversations have you been having here?
I mean, I've had a lot of interesting conversations. I feel like because of Argentina's role, in terms of mobile wallet use, et cetera, there's really a lot of energy around crypto and Web3 here, which is amazing.
How would you describe this stage setup? I think it's sort of like the Warp Tour from the early 2000s. Is there an analog that you're experiencing? It's pretty unique.
It is pretty unique. I mean, it's like a little psychedelic. I don't know. I'm digging it. I like it.
Did you ever attend a Warp Tour?
I didn't.
You didn't. I did. I know, I'm getting flashbacks right now as Zach tells us about
punk
that.
for life, guys. Anyway. All right, let's talk about real stuff. Let's talk about work. Let's talk about Web3 with AI. So there's a lot of news, a lot of noise about the intersection of these two transformative technologies. Cut through the hype for me, kill the bullshit. What's the one thing at Web3 AI that we should care about?
Geopolitics. I mean, at the end of the day, I actually think people need to look further out and recognize that even some of the leaders in the AI space from sort of the private sector, if we look at Sam Altman, he wrote an op-ed, I think it was in July, for the Washington Post, and sort of put out the gauntlet of, we're either going to end up with democratic AI, sort of US style, or we're going to end up with authoritarian AIs. And we're in this sort of battleground, and there's no alternative. And I disagree. He said there's no third option. And I think the third option is looking at the amazing technologies we already have in Web3 that are already being used. And we need to understand how they mitigate some of the fears around AI, but also concretely open up an opportunity for a public, decentralized, highly performant version of AI that the rest of the globe can use, and there's sovereignty there. So I think, we're in Argentina. The global south overall is going to be looking for options of, what kind of tooling they use. Diego was on earlier talking about how countries like Argentina are gaining exposure to these technologies, and I think it's going to be Web3's tipping point.
I think both Web3 and AI, very highly politicized right now, kind of a disaster when it comes to regulation. When we talk about this truly decentralized AI and Web3 future, how do we get there? How do we cut through all of that? It feels like we haven't been able to do it in the past. How do we do it now?
Yeah, oddly, I think, it's sort of a turnaround for Web3 to align itself to a degree with more formal public institutions. That's not something we've seen a lot of. The ethos in Web3 has always been a bit crypto anarchist, a little on the gritty side, and that's really important because we want to have fundamental freedoms in our technology solutions. But I think increasingly we need to be offering real understanding and education for our leaders that there are alternative options that could drive real public benefit, and that they come largely from the advances that we're seeing in Web3, including on privacy, including on self-sovereign identity. There's a lot of really amazing work that's been done over the last decade.
What part within the AI stack do you see blockchain being most able to sort of democratize and push that pro-social value that you were just alluding to? Is there a specific part within the stack that you identify as being most important?
I actually think, we're the most challenging area in the AI stack would be training. That's sort of the one that most people, skeptics, will say, no, we're never, it's not going to be performant enough. You can't do it decentralized. You have to be co-located. in data centers, et cetera. And I actually think people are starting to chip away at that and crack that nut as well. And so we are already seeing pretty amazing projects emerging at every layer, from compute all the way up. And I think, there's sort of these benefits we'll see in two directions. Blockchain creates a lot of the necessary sort of mitigation around fears and decentralization and privacy and all of those things on the back end. And on the front end, Web3 could really use some better user experience. And so I think, we'll see this symbiotic relationship as really the future.
Well, that kind of leads to my next question. Do you think Web3 needs AI to solve some of the infrastructure issues, to solve some of the scalability issues, to achieve this mainstream goal that everyone loves to talk about?
I think it's an opportunity. I think it's a real opportunity to drive user adoption because we all want to use tools that are human friendly, right? And so I do think it's an opportunity we shouldn't miss, and I think even now there's been a report that came out that said 34% of crypto builders are using AI already in their projects. So I think, we already are a community of builders that are almost always at the cutting edge on the invention side and on utilizing technologies from really any field. So I think we're going to see a lot more progress in a short time.
Without explicitly pumping your bags, can you identify some tangible use cases that get you excited about crypto applications within the world of AI?
Oh, I don't want to call anyone out. I mean, there are some apps I'm really loving, but I think right now probably the most important aspect is really the lower level infrastructure. And I mean, for me personally, it is a journey of how do we get folks who really understand the AI space to acknowledge where crypto can play a role, because I think that bridge hasn't really been built very well yet.
Do you think the consumer facing stuff will be like I don't know, trading agents or stuff like that, things that I can deploy to do various tasks?
We're already seeing stuff like that. We always used to say we wanted robots with wallets, and arguably AIs aren't going to get bank accounts. They do need rails, and if you want them to be performant as your agent on your behalf, you're going to need a permissioning architecture and identity structure and so I think our economy, for it to bridge the gap and say we really are fluid between machines and humans, we're going to need to get there that way.
Zach wants an AI to do his taxes. I feel like Zach wants a stablecoin AI kind of situation.
I mean, the weirder stuff.
Figure those taxes out.
Yeah, the weirder stuff is when they have their own economy, right? And we don't even participate in that. It's just an AI to AI economy. That's going to be crazy. We don't know.
We were just talking about the crypto markets with Nick Van Eck, and I just got to ask you, I know you invest in a lot of projects. We're heading towards the end of the year. What do you think the most promising, sector is that you're looking at right now?
I mean,
don't say AI.
No, I was going to say, if you haven't seen Off the Grid and the whole gaming situation,
I thought you were going to say
Avalanche. I'm I think it's really cool.
So are you investing in Web3 games?
To be seen.
Investing time, just clicking, fiendishly clicking.
Time in Web3 games. All right, Bettina, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.